Hello, welcome to One Word Advent Ministries. My name is Sister Williams, and the word for today, March 3, 2017, is bingo. Now, bingo is a judgment word. The bin is for the tares. In Matthew 13:30 we read, "Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them." So that is where you get the bin. And the word go, "But gather the wheat into my barn. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them to Tarshish, Pul and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles." Isaiah 66, verse 19. We will now go into a prayer thought and prayer. Never did clouds of war so strange and so dark hang in an angry thunderhead over the world, and never did the world see itself as it does today. Everywhere, in government, in industry, in halls of learning, in churches, in homes, on the streets, in every walk of life, the question uppermost is, whither bound mankind? It's from White House Recruiter, page 3. And it continues, "At this very hour, millions without hope are wasting and withering away, perishing in the fields of sin. And because no one has won them to Christ with the everlasting gospel, who will go for them? Who has the vision, the heart, the will to go out in the rescue of humanity for Christ?" That is page 12. Everything that can be done against God's message of today will be done with even a greater vengeance than was manifest against heaven's message in the days of Christ's first advent. For the devil knows that if he loses now, he loses forever, that he is to have no other chance. That is page 33. We will now pause to pray. Kind Father, who art in heaven, we truly want to give you thanks and praise for your goodness and your keeping care over us. We want to thank you for this opportunity you have given us so that we can spread the word, spread the light of present truth, so that those perishing in the fields of sin can be rescued. We pray that as we go through this lesson, that thou will go before us, hide us behind the cross, and speak to your people the living word of life, we pray. Forgive us of all our sins and shortcomings, and bless our families, our friends, our neighbors. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. Now, why bingo? Why bingo? The numerals of the Bible are like rich veins of metal beneath the surface of the earth. Thousands walk over these unknown treasures until some unseen power brings them to the surface. We know that the Trinity is best expressed by the use of the terms Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Likewise, we express God's attributes in 3 terms, namely omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. That's from the Shepherd's Rod, page 54. And I will just continue a little more, page 54. If 3 is the symbol of the triune Jehovah, 4 must designate that which proceeds from him as revealed in creation. The cherubims consist of 4 living creatures, each having the face of a lion, a calf, a man, and an eagle, respectively. There are 4 regions of the earth, east, north, south, and west, which is expressive of the completeness of direction. Likewise, winter, spring, summer, and autumn covers a complete circle of the seasons. We have already observed that there are 4 universal empires in the history of the world from creation to the crucifixion. We may also note the fact in connection with this subject that there is a combination of a threefold with the fourfold as clearly seen in the work of creation, in which the first 4 days are employed in forming the sphere and the remaining 3 in the creation of the living creatures and culminating in a Sabbath rest. The 4th day saw the material substance of creation finished, and on the 5th and 6th days was the peopling of the earth. In the book of Revelation, under the head of the 7 seals, we observe that the first 4 seals were clearly separated from the last 3 by the symbols of 4 horses. Thus it appears that the fourfold measure in each case precedes the threefold, just as in creation order. Each division culminating the 7 of perfection. For this reason, there are 4 sections of the great image of Daniel 2, 4 beasts in Daniel's vision, 4 wings and 4 heads on the leopard, with whom the numbers in this fashion ceased. Thus, it is evident that the Old Testament closed with the symbolic number 4, showing that all the necessary provision for salvation of the human family was completed on the dispensation of this prominent number, 4 as it terminated about the time of the crucifixion. Thus, this number is used in connection with incidents to signify earth-wide. And it goes on. But we see that numbers are very, very important. Okay. Now, God has laid many things on my heart that I want to share with you. I've been given many dreams and visions and many experiences that show that the end is very near. In fact, we may be on the very borders of the eternal world, looking forward to close this chapter of this dark earth's history. We are standing on the threshold of momentous events. Now is the most exciting time to be alive in the history of the world. Nobody can describe the experiences of those alive when celestial glory and the fires of persecution are rekindled. The time has come for judgment in God's church. This world cannot last much longer, and we indeed are at the 0 hour of Earth's civilization. I will now read about the 144,000 sealed while in the church and how it is a typical service that happened in the past and will happen in the future. The 144,000 sealed while in the church. And that is found on page 163. And okay, 144,000. This is a number that has been very controversial, but I will try to make it as clear as possible. The 144,000 sealed while in the church. To make this clear, we must comment on the typical Day of Atonement. That notable day in the ceremonial system was a day of cleansing, judgment, and covering. The command was given that in the 7th month and on the 10th day of the month, Day of Atonement, every Israelite was to afflict his soul, confess his sin, and bring a sacrifice. He who failed to respond to the divine call was cut off or perished from among God's people. Therefore, it is a day of judgment and purification of the camp of Israel. While the sinner perished, the godly were preserved. This living example was set forth for our benefit at this present time, upon whom the antitypical day of atonement is come. This picture in the earthly tabernacle is intended to point out the work in the heavenly. When the judgment opened in 1844, as previously explained, the investigation began with the dead. And when that part of the work is finished, then commences the judgment of the living. While the investigation for the congregation of the dead is in progress, there can be no separation among the congregation of the living. But when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth, sounding of the trumpet, urging everyone to lay hold on the Lamb of God, Christ, by which only he can he in figure come to the sanctuary, confess his sin, and secure his life. Unless the close of the judgment for the dead and the commencement for the living be made known to us, we would have no present truth where the judgment for the living is in session. Neither would judgment be legal or just without the seal or covering of God, and therefore neither would the judgment be legal or just. He who fails to respond to the heavenly summons will be left without the seal or covering of God, and therefore must be cut off from among his people, as prefigured by the services of the typical Day of Atonement. So here we see that the sealing is going on in the church, and it is a message that one has to accept or reject. If you reject it, you lose out. If you accept it, you are saved. Those who receive the pure mark of truth wrought in them by the power of the Holy Ghost, represented by a mark by the man in linen, are those that sigh and cry for all the abomination that must be done in the church. Read the 9th chapter of Ezekiel. But the general slaughter of all those who do not thus see the wide contrast between sin and righteousness, and do not feel as those who stand in the counsel of God and receive the mark, is described in the order of the 5 men with the slaughter weapons. Go after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. The definition of general is extensive but not universal. Therefore, it does not mean the destruction of the world at the appearance of the Lord, but it has reference to the wicked in the church. This slaughter is literal. It is to separate and release God's people from sin and sinners. Otherwise, the marking would be of no value. The same subject is again brought forth to view in Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, page 211. Here we see that the church, the Lord's sanctuary, was the first to feel the stroke of the wrath of God. The wrath of God cannot and never has been spiritual. We are reminded that the 144,000 are the remnant. Now indeed are the remnant men wondered at. In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. Thus the 144,000 are those who are sealed in the judgment for the church, and with them the judgment for the living commenced. Therefore they are the first fruits. Okay. Now, God has used numbers, symbols, to announce the arrival of the great and dreadful day. He also used pop culture and nature to assist in making plain what is the mystery of iniquity, and likewise the mystery of godliness. God has not forsaken the earth, but he's in charge. He is silent as light. He has been working behind the scenes very hard, giving us a photograph of what we need to see and learn so that we can make it into the promised land. Now I have two charts that I will explain that in a sense shows the great and dreadful day. So at the top I have Heaven's bingo. And we already said that the bin is for the tears and the go are for those that escape. Now the Jacobites head home after 20 years. And that is in Genesis 31 verse 13. Now we recall that Jacob was with Laban, and after 20 years he decided to go back home to the promised land. Now we are going to combine Jacob's 20 years, which happened to be a great day, with Christ in the grave. Christ was in the grave on Friday the 16th. He was on the grave on Saturday the 17th and Sunday the 18th, Sunday morning. Now we realize that Christ was in the heart of the earth for 3 days, just like Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days, meaning in enemy territory, for the grave is an enemy. Now when we add 20 to 16, we get 2016, the year 2016. When we add 20 to 17, we get the year 2017. When we add 20 to 18, we get the year 2018. So this is the tabulation we have. We find that he was risen on the 18th. So it is that the Emmanuelites, those who are like Christ, who have the seal, the 144,000, will be on display. They will be risen on 2018, or come on the stage of action by 2018. By 2019, you should be up, because God had told you to rise up. Now I have this this little chart here. C, which is the letter, has a numerical value of 3, and S, which has a numerical value of 19. Now C is the third letter, which represents Christ, Christ in the Trinity, and the letter S represents Satan. Between C and S we have 16. 3 from 19 equals 16. So Christ took 16 steps down into the gulf of sin to pull up man. That is why we have John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. So the gulf was fixed and paradise was regained right at the cross. So you have sweet 16. You have Emmanuel, named so sweet. Jesus is the sweetest name I know. There's a sweet, sweet spirit, because heaven was restored right at the cross. Satan was defeated. You also have peacock. P is the 16th letter, and we recognize that the cock crew when Peter betrayed or denied his Lord. So indeed, we are thinking that the year of Jubilee and the kingdom restored and home sweet home has started. We are transitioning into that aspect. Now, in CB Radio land, you have make pick up at, which is 10:16. If you say 10:16, it means make pick up at. So we pick up the kingdom. We are in Jerusalem. Our destination is Jerusalem, Mount Zion. And we are home, sweet home. Okay. Now at the back of this, I have additional information on how we arrive at the close, or the close of probation. It says, one, from 1844 to 1930 is 86 years. 1844 was the start of the judgment of the dead message. In 1930, the judgment of the, it ended in 1930. 1930, we have the arrival of the kingdom message and the purification of the church. 1930 to 2060, 86 years. So 86 years on this side, 86 years on that side. And in 2016, we see where the trump of God sounded. The beast speaks like a dragon with the presidential nomination and the presidential appointment of the Trump administration. Number 2, the rod message is the lifespan of a man. In Psalm 90 and verse 10, we see that we are given 70 years. But we get 16 more years to the cross because of the cross. So 70 plus 16 is 86 years. 86 years. And that is the same 86 years at the top here. Now, number 3, 6,000 years for man's probation would have ended in 2000, the year 2000. But man was given 15 more years of grace, according to the dial of Ahaz, 2 Kings 25-11, Isaiah 38:8, where Hezekiah was given 15 more years to live because he pleaded to God. But when that 15 years was done, his life was cut off. But for the righteous who are covered under the cross, covered by the blood, will not receive death at the end of the 15 minutes. The righteous will receive eternal life. So 2015 plus 1, which takes you to 2016, means that eternity is ours. 1930 to 2016 is 86 years. And notice that I always put an add the 8 plus 6 equal 14. 8 plus 6 equal 14. Why is that? 8 plus 6 equal 14. That is because 8 plus 6, 14, is a sign of God's kingdom. Because in Matthew and Luke we read about the genealogies of Christ. The genealogy of Christ, you have 14 generations from one generation to the next. The divisions have 14 generations in all. So that means that time has really wrapped up on this side. The next chart I have, the first chart was the Jacobites, who represent those who are the faithful ones. Now the Esauites, they take a different journey. Their journey takes them into the bowels of the earth. And that we call the dreadful day, or the day of vengeance. So Isaiah 61, 1 and 2 talks about the dreadful day and the day of vengeance. Now in order to find out how the Esauites get their reward, which is doom, we look at three dreadful events. They are splendid and dreadful events, three signs that were given. In November 1, 1755, we had the Lisbon earthquake. November 1, the Lisbon earthquake. On May 19, 1830, the moon appeared as blood. On November 13, 1833, you had the falling stars. The stars fell from heaven, a meteoric shower, or the movie stars. Now, when you add 20, we have to add 20 again because 20 means what's your location. When we add 20 to the 1 here, November 1, we get 2001. 2001, look at the cross, we have 9/11. And then we go to, I skip down to November 13. When you add 20 to 13, we get 2013, which was our 28th wedding anniversary celebrations. And 28 is a significant number because you have 4 sevens, which means perfection. Now we go back to May 19. And there we have it, that 20 plus the 19 is 2019. So 2019 is the only current date left in these signs that were given years ago. That means, as we have said before, Christ rose up on the 18th, and in our time it's 2018. So 2019 is for the destruction of the wicked or the unfaithful ones. And we notice that the moon appeared as blood. But that moon that appears as blood is not as a dreadful sign as one may think. In fact, it means the honeymoon, because blood means life. And Peter says that we are lively stones, and Christ himself is the living stone. So these are stones that are lively. So it's the 13th that has the falling stars that depict this cutting down of the unfaithful ones in the church, or the cleansing of the sanctuary. So it's the moon appearing as blood is the honeymoon, the great day, while the falling stars, I beheld Satan fall as lightning from heaven. Falling stars are the tares and the followers of Satan, who will fall November 13, 2019. And there you have it. The church will be purified in 2019. Notice also that May is in the middle. May is in the middle, the honeymoon part. Great and the dreadful for those unfaithful ones. So November 1 to May 19 are 18 steps. 1 to 19, 18 steps. And that represents 18 steps downward for those who are after the flesh. And we call them Mahershala's husbands. Isaiah 7 verse 8. Mahershala's husbands, they go down. But notice what happens at November 13. 13 to 19 is 16 steps upward. So the Emmanuel lights, the same Isaiah 7:8, rise up. And that 16 steps, we call it the escape velocity. Remember, those who escape the slaughter will go to all the nations. All right? Now 10:19 on CB language, the radio. Nothing for you. Return to base. So in November 2019, there will be nothing for those who have not the seal of God. They are like the 5 foolish virgins who the door was shut on them and they were left in utter darkness. And so 10:20, why we use 20, 10:20 is what's your location. What's inside of you determines where you end up, on the inside or locked outside of glory. It is full time for us to leave this sin-convulsed, death-weary, hapless earth. Okay. All right. Now I have here K and I. K, the 11th letter, and I, the 9th letter. For years, 6,000 years, Satan has terrified the world. We have the Ku Klux Klan, KKK, 11-11-11, Mississippi. But then Herman Cain in 2012 came up with a little jingle, 999. And 999I is the 9th letter of the alphabet, meaning judgment, judgment. So when you add K and I together, you get kings. We will eventually be turned into kings and priests and rulers, those who are willing. Then you have KI, meaning killer instincts. We will tread down the wicked, and those who oppose God will not stand a chance against us. Read Joel 2 about those who are men wondered at, who escaped the slaughter of Ezekiel 9. Then you have Kilauea volcano. The first 3 letters spell the word kill. And the in Hawaii and Honolulu is Big Island, where this same volcano came. So we are the emergency workers, 9/11, K and 9. The emergency workers. We are here to rescue souls out of Babylon. God is calling his people, come out of Babylon. Babylon is falling. We see all the corruption, all the iniquity that is taking place. And it's time for redress. It's time for those who want to array themselves under the black banner of Christ to receive their punishment. And it's time for those who have been faithful to enter into the promised land. It is full time to let the light shine. Okay. Now I'm going to quickly go through how God has been plotting and planning the plan of redemption for many years. And it has come to my mind that I've been impressed to reveal that God used these U.S. presidents to illustrate our journey in the wilderness to the promised land. The first 40 presidents, U.S. presidents, represent the church militant, while the last 4 represent the church triumphant. Ronald Reagan, the 40th president, represents the end of the Israelites' wilderness wanderings. It was therefore good morning in America, and the bear in the woods, a sign of a land flowing with milk and honey. The wall of imprisonment fell down too, as the Russian Gorbachev wall fell down. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. That's the Jericho wall that we are saying to now. Tear down that wall, that Jericho wall. We are ready to inhabit the promised land. Before our entry to the border of the promised land, however, the Lord highlighted the 39th president, Jimmy Carter, to show us the troubles and tribulations one will have in trying to escape out of Babylon before entering into the promised land. Nebuchadnezzar built an image on the plains of Dura. Jimmy Carter is from Plains in Georgia. That means that there is going to be a replication of that image beast. The Lord used a peanut farmer to show that success comes only from God. It also serves to point to us that we must not sell our souls for peanuts in the mark of the beast system soon to be set up. President Clinton from Hope, Arkansas. The first three words of that state is the ark. He's a symbol of all who will escape wrath and punishment to enter the ark of safety. His presidency is also highlighted to show us that there is hope. We are forgiven, we are freed, and we are blessed, because he was the only president who was impeached and he escaped impeachment. So, our journey here, it was the winter of despair, but it became the spring of hope. Bush 41 and Bush 43 represent the word on fire in the burning bush. Our souls are burning. We have a burning desire for God to come and to inhabit the kingdom. So they represent the second Exodus. Obama 44 represents faith becoming sight and great expectations turning to reality at last. Daniel 2:44. Trump, number 45, is a symbol of all the failing kingdoms of earth. Daniel 2:45, because the stone crushes these kingdoms and blows them away. Now I want to dwell a little on Trump and who he is. God revealed to me these things step by step over a period of time. That Trump has Christ in his genealogy. Elizabeth Christ on his father's side was his grandmother. He's anything but Christ-like. Marjorie Merriweather. She was the heiress, very rich woman who built Mar-a-Lago. Her name, Weather, Merriweather. This means that this regime will change the climate in America, causing the four winds to blow. Revelation 7. Merriweather also highlights those fair weather Christians who make no sacrifices. They are on the broad road of folly. They love ease and comfort more than the stern duties and sacrifices of missionaries. They do not have a missionary spirit. Now, Mar-a-Lago means from sea to lake. It suggests a shrink. And the only place that has lake in the Bible refers to it as a lake of fire, into which the false prophet and the Antichrist will be thrown alive into. Acts 13 tells us of Bar Jesus, a sorcerer. And he hindered Paul the apostle at every turn, and the Lord struck him with blindness. So that was Bar Jesus. Trump has a son called Baron, Bar, and when you add that to Elizabeth Christ, you get Bar Christ in the Christian dispensation. So the cause for witchcraft and witch hunt are familiar tones. The witch of Endor in 1 Samuel 28 tells us that the end is near. Trump's mother is MacLeod, and that shows us that Donald Trump follows the one who is the commander of the spiritual powers of the air in Ephesians 2. Mar-a-Lago is named for Mars, the Roman god of war and the red planet. Notice how quickly the mother of all bombs was landed on Afghanistan. And the decor for the last Christmas we had was red Christmas trees. I don't know where those came from, but they were red. The red planet. Now the logo, the campaign theme, Be Best, has nothing to do with helping children. It is a contraction of 3 Egyptian gods. Bes, the female counterpart, Beset, and Teweret. And those Egyptian gods are defenders of households, the birth house, and they love mothers. Because Satan can get an army of people he can use to help to build up his demonic kingdom. Now, yes, so Be Best is nothing but 3 Egyptian gods, and that is the logo for the image of the beast already in place. So a storm is coming. In Revelation 13, the beast coming up from the earth is a donkey with lamb-like ears. Let us put a face on it. This donkey is a Don without a key, who challenges the Don with the key to the bottomless pit. Christ, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, then, is the Don with the key, and the Don without the key is the apprentice. We Jamaicans have key, as in our national dish, a key. We have the oracles of God and the mysteries therein. The lamb-like horns are really 2 antennae linked to the underworld. Hence, this beast speaks like Satan, the dragon. That means it is to repudiate its constitution, and the God-given liberty of its subjects will be taken away. That's on SR page 108. The war of Armageddon also ends in a Don also. The number, this man has a number. The number of this man is forecast in Toots and the Maytals song, Sweet and Dandy. And 5446 is my number. In the Revelation, after the church triumphs, the church sings sweet and dandy, sweet and dandy. Then the dragon makes war with the remnant of her seed. And imprisonment comes. That's why you have 5446 is my number. 54 is the 45th president in reverse. 46 marks the year of his birth. Why 54? 9 by 6 equals 54. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 18 by 3 is 54. Why 46? 6 by 6 equals 36 plus 10, which is a universal number, equals 46. So you have a lot of sixes, and 6 is the number of imperfection. Balaam's donkey, Numbers 22, 21 to 39, was the first donkey that spoke as a man. 2 Peter 2:16 says that Balaam rebuked the donkey for talking like a man. But in this end time, a man is to speak like a donkey. Kofefe, bigly, hamburger, smoking gun, 2 Corinthians. We do have the translations that I will give you later on. Balaam's donkey could put 2 and 2 together. That's why he was in Numbers 22. And he could also add, he said, why have you hit me these 3 times? This second donkey does things that do not add up at all. They can't add up, no matter how you try. Then you have the potty mouth, hence the middle name John. He's a pit bull on a chain in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Babylon pit, full of corruption and slime. Corruption and slime, not smile. Now, since we said that the year 2000 was a significant year, 2000 to 2018, I'm going to highlight certain events. They are not exhaustive, but highlight certain events that show that we are at the end. We are at the end. 2001, we have 9/11 when the World Trade Center was blown to pieces. 2002, Nassau, Bahamas, Paradise Island was in view. I touched down on the soil. 2003, Chambly, Pierce Drive. The darkness was pierced by light. 2004, leaders of the Cumberland Conference crashed in a tree, and 5 of them died, leaving 1 to tell the story. 2005 was an irregular time. 2006, Craig, my first son, graduated Chambly High School. 2007, Handel graduated Chambly High School. In 2008, we had the historic election of Barack Obama. 2009, my family moved to Eastwood, and the angel came from the east, having the seal of the living God. 2010, we were at Wolverton, which is a place of strength. In 2011, Kate Middleton and William got married in April, the first month. And this marriage is a type of the first temple, first Solomon's temple. And this was the year we arrived at Austin Road in Ellenwood. In 2012, Usain Lightning Bolt came on the stage of action as a sign of the remnant. We are the last piece from the bolt of cloth. The remnant is the last piece from a bolt of cloth. 2013, Tessan wins season 5 of The Voice, redemption song, We Are Redeemed. And in 2013, we celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary. 2014, I was at Victor Rick, and there it was that Joel 2:16 says, the bride is to come out of her closet and the groom out of his chamber. And then there was an ice storm, meaning that some were left out in the cold while some were out from the cold. So that was its separation. Now, the locker talk was real, but it would not involve any grabbing. The king says, I am king. I am the king. I want. But the response will be, long have we waited. Long have we waited. Isaiah 25, verse 9. Now, this kind of mutuality is what is expected of heaven. On the other hand, you have those who will take like a predator. And the Proverbs 6:27 says, can a man take fire into his bosom and not be burnt? You have to ask Bill Cosby, Matt Lauer, Weinstein, and Charlie Rose, and countless others. When you do it the right way, you will end up in parts unknown with Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Okay. Now in 2015 was this 60th session of the General Conference of SDA. And here it was that the church made a second shipwreck of her faith after rejecting the spirit of prophecy in San Antonio. Why San Antonio? The sand. Shipwreck on the sand. And it also means that the sands of time fully run. Grace ran out for the church. In a dream, my husband and I visited the president, Ted Wilson. And while he was sitting on a chair, and while we were talking with him, asking him, how is the work to be finished? He said, only Jesus can help us. And the Spirit said, look at not what is coming out of his mouth. Look at how he's dressed. When I looked, I saw the Ted Wilson dressed up in Pope, the Pope regalia, the long cream gown. The only difference between him and Pope Francis was the head. And I looked in amazement until I saw a man came in and dragged him out of his chair and carried him out the door, and we went out the other door. That was the Pope in the form of Ted Wilson. And I woke up out of my dream and told my husband, the church will suffer a fate like the Titanic 103 years ago, because it has neglected the truth. It has neglected the truth and despised the message that would save the flock. In 2015 also we have the X Factor Roshani Purdue, after 8 years united with her mom, Violet. Notice the color. Violet is the last color of the rainbow. And she sang a song, Paid in Ink. God paid the price. The Son of God on the cross of Calvary paid the price for us. That's why Tessa sang Redemption Song. We celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary too, as we became pearls. The pearly gates were open. Oprah's beloved came to fruition 17 years later. You see, Oprah was too early in 1998 with her beloved. She had to wait for Roshani. So 1998 to 2015, servants of the living God, church were sealed. Some sealed, some were left without the seal. Song of Solomon says, he brought me to the banqueting house, and his banner over me was love. Song of Solomon 2 verse 4. Then in 2016, we had a strange fire here at Ellenwood, and the Henry County Fire Department had to come out. Then the woods was damaged. Under the pine tree, the place burned badly. Extensive damage. But the house was saved, the van was saved. The van with a tank full of gas was saved. A friend's son died November 11th and was buried on the 20th, Andrew. The bee speaks like a dragon, Revelation 13. 1776 to 2016 is 240 years. The number 600 represents the gospel message. Multiply that by 240 and you get 144,000. If you multiply 6,000 years of probation by 24, the tribes in type and antitype, you get 144,000. Okay. So the lifespan of America up to the 144,000 is 240 years. 1776 to 2016. Ben Carson runs for president. Now Ben Carson has a shrine of medals at his house. And I say that the vain make a display of themselves. Then he had a picture on the wall. In the picture he's seated. in the refiner's chair. He's usurped the refiner's chair, Malachi 3. And Christ is standing behind him, standing up behind him. Now he's a poster for the Laodicean church. Thou sayest, I am rich and increased with goods and in need of nothing, because Christ is behind him. He is in the refiner's chair. He has everything. And knowest not that thou art wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. On a plaque, he misspelled the word Proverbs, leaving out the letter R, which is a symbol of Mahershala's husbands, those who are born after the flesh, in Isaiah 7 and 8. Ben was born on the 18th. He represents the Seventh-day Adventist church that has now run out of oil or present truth. The table he bought as food director for $31,000 is a table for the soon-to-come mark of the beast. 31 is 13 backwards, Revelation 13. If the light in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? It was no accident that President Trump threw paper towels to hurricane victims in Puerto Rico and caused its border wall peaches. They are all setting up the mark of the beast picnic table. But don't sell your soul for husk. Learn from Michael Cohen. Although the elements of persecution are in place already, stay firm with God. Hannity has a LLC, SPAMK, and I say that the M stands for Revelation 13. Spank them. Mark Spain, mark them or cause them pain. CIA Gina Haspel is a symbol of that woman. Revelation 14 and 10 causes all to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Notice there's a serpent in the middle of her name, Asp. Her middle name is also Cherry. Gina. The CIA in 2005 destroyed the interrogation videotapes, or the enhanced interrogation, though they know how to apply pressure. Ben was willing to break the Sabbath and worship the beast by campaigning on the Sabbath day. He was going up in an elevator that stopped for 20 minutes. 20. What's your location? He was stuck, just as the SDA church is stuck and waiting for ultimate punishment. Ezekiel 9. Indeed, Laodicea, those who refuse to accept the extra oil, is under the banner of blasphemy over the 7 heads. 2017. I extracted a rotten tooth, which is a symbol of those tears, or the Judas element, or the Achan in the church. That was on November 13, 2017. November 13. Then you had another strange death in the church, Taff. He died on I-75 and he was buried in August. The dome imploded on November 20. But at the start of the year, Eddie Long, a preacher, New Birth, died on the 15th of January, Martin Luther King's celebration. And we say he represented the long night of sin. And so we say, so long, Eddie Long, so long, old vibe. Weeping may endure but a night, but joy, joy comes in the morning. Psalm 30, verse 5. 2018. We had our fence repaired and painted blue and white in Cumberland Gardens, Jamaica. the Kilauea volcano erupts. Likewise, the Fuego volcano in Guatemala. Notice that Guatemala ends in Mala, and the fire there killed a lot of people. The fire killed a lot of people, but no death was with Kilauea because it had the golden ones in between. You see the AU represent the golden ones. Meghan Markle marries Harry Henry David. This is a symbol of the second temple. Just as Kate was a symbol of the first temple, Markle is a symbol of the second temple. It mirrors the great consummation hour, as they are the Sussexes. And we say it is remarkable in our eyes. And they are expecting a baby. So we are to make a loud cry. Seiko sent his pipe bombs. Paradise Seventh-day Adventist Church burns to the ground. And we label that as the fool's paradise.